Hello, you are watching Shalom World News. I'm David Kerr from Lansing in Michigan, and these are your latest news headlines from around the world. A group representing nearly 700 pediatric doctors in the US is urging the American Academy of Pediatricians to reconsider its support for so-called affirmative care for gender-confused children. Earlier this week, the Academy reaffirmed its support for its 2018 policy on the treatment of children with gender dysphoria. In response, the American College of Pediatricians say there is a dearth of compelling evidence to support such interventions, which includes irreversible surgery and the use of synthetic hormones. A senior US Congressman is calling upon the Nicaraguan dictator Daniel Ortega to provide proof to the world that Bishop Rolando Alvarez is still alive and to permit the Red Cross to examine his health. The Bishop of Matagalpa was detained by the Nicaraguan authorities in February after criticising the country's government. He was subsequently sentenced to 26 years in prison for treason. Now, Republican Congressman Chris Smith of New Jersey is calling for public verification that Bishop Alvarez is still alive. In a statement, Congressman Smith referred to Bishop Alvarez as a brave and compassionate servant of God who remains unjustly imprisoned. Pope Francis has expressed his grief following the latest fatal sinking of a migrant boat in the Mediterranean Sea. The ship carrying immigrants from Tunisia to Europe capsized near the Italian island of Lampedusa with the loss of 41 lives. In response, the Pope urged the faithful not to ignore such tragedies and to pray for the dead and their loved ones. Since 2014, it's estimated that around 28,000 migrants have lost their lives while attempting to cross the Mediterranean Sea. The Bishop of Sokoto in Nigeria is calling upon citizens to unite in order to fight persistent insecurity in the West African nation. Bishop Matthew Hassan Kuka says the causes of insecurity in the nation are sectionalism, fanaticism, injustice, and religious intolerance. He made his comments during a town hall meeting focused on promoting peace and security in the northwestern region of Nigeria. India's Cardinal Oswald Gracias has led this year's March for Life in the city of Pune in the state of Maharashtra in opposition to the country's abortion laws. At the same time, a group of pro-life campaigners delivered a memorandum supporting the rights of the unborn to local authorities. This year's event was preceded by an exhibition at St Patrick's Cathedral Hall. More than 15 million abortions take place annually in India. Abortion was legalised in the country 52 years ago. At least 53 people have died and thousands evacuated as wildfires continue to devastate the island of Maui in Hawaii. In recent days, fires fanned by winds from a distant cyclone have destroyed several neighbourhoods. Hawaiian Governor Josh Green estimates that so far over 1,700 buildings and billions of dollars in property have been destroyed in the disaster. More than 50 parents gathered at a courthouse in Maryland this week seeking the right to withdraw their children from public school lessons on homosexuality and so-called transgenderism. The group of mainly Muslim, Catholic and Orthodox parents gathered on Wednesday at the Montgomery County Courthouse where they began legal action against the Montgomery County Board of Education. The parents claim such lessons breach their rights to religious liberty. They are being supported in their petition by the Beckett Fund for Religious Liberty. A senior US bishop says the Catholic Church in the United States is going through a crisis of direction. Archbishop Salvatore Cordileone of San Francisco told Fox News Digital that properly educating Catholics and organising around critical social issues is the only way for the Catholic Church to make headway back into the modern cultural arena. The Archbishop added that unfortunately there are currently a lot of Catholics who don't follow everything the Church teaches because he says they probably were never taught what it does teach and the wisdom that's underlying it. The president of the Federation of Asian Bishops' Conferences has revoked his temporary suspension of a continent-wide Catholic radio station. Myanmar's Cardinal Charles Maung Bo closed down Radio Veritas Asia in March following the firing of the station's programme director. This week, however, Cardinal Bo said the station could now resume its activities. Founded more than 50 years ago, Radio Veritas Asia is based in Manila in the Philippines. It broadcasts in English and at least 20 Asian languages. The General Secretary of the United Nations, Antonio Gutierrez, says he is concerned for the health and safety of the President of Niger in Africa, who was deposed in a military coup last month. According to local media, President Mohamed Bazoum and his family are reportedly without electricity, water, food or medicine. Secretary General Gutierrez is also calling for the immediate and unconditional release of President Bazoum and his reinstatement as head of state. Meanwhile, the United Nations is also raising concerns about the plight of 9 Tibetan human rights activists who are currently serving up to 11 years in prison in China. The human rights advocates were detained and locked up between 2010 and 2019 as a result of their protests against illegal mining operations and the hunting of endangered animals. According to UN experts, the families of those imprisoned have been kept in the dark about their fate ever since. Finally, Pope Francis has appointed a new Patriarch of Lisbon in Portugal. He's Bishop Rui Manuel Sousa Valerio, who's currently serving as Bishop of the Military Ordinariate in Portugal. The 59-year-old is a member of the Montfort Missionary Order. He'll succeed Cardinal Manuel José Macario de Nascimento Clemente, who has retired upon reaching the age of 75. Meanwhile, Lisbon's auxiliary bishop, Americo Aguia, will be made a cardinal by Pope Francis next month. Well, that's your latest headlines for now. Do join us for more tomorrow. You can also join us at swnews.org for news updates. Shalom.